Hello friends, welcome to bisptrainings.com. My name is Sumit and in today's video I'm going to demonstrate you how can we send email using Jenkins. In my previous video I explained how can we schedule a job or how can we set up a job and schedule it up to for a certain period. In continuation of that, I would like to send an email to the registered user whether that job has been completed or not. So if any failure happens, so the Jenkins will quickly send an email to the users that the build has been failed and you need to take an appropriate action on that task. So I'm going to continue from the existing part. So I switch back to Jenkins interface, and here that was the job which we configured, which we set up in the previous video. So I click on configure, and as you can see here, a lot of build or the task will be going on because I set up a schedule for that particular task. So I have already removed that schedule, otherwise it will keep moving on, it will keep going on. So as you can see here, I have already unchecked that build periodically option. So build periodically option, it will help us to schedule a task and it will repeat a task up to a certain time after a certain interval. So my next requirement is I would like to send an email by using Jenkins. So I scroll down and look for this section which is known as post build actions. So I click on this post build actions, and in this post build actions we have, when I drop down, when I click on this list or this pick list, there are various options and editable email notification and so on. So I select email notification. This email notification, here we need to specify the recipients who will be going to receive the emails. So I enter my mail ID so that this recipient will be informed that the build has been failed. If you expand this, it will help you to know more about this email notification, that the Jenkins will send out an email to the specific recipient when a certain important event occurs. So these are the 4 events when the email will be sent or this email notification will be running. So the first one is every failed build trigger, a new email will be sent to the recipient. A successful build after a failed build trigger, a new email indicating that a crisis is over. An unstable build after a successful build trigger, a new email indicating that there are regression, and unless configured every unstable build trigger, a new email indicating the regression is still there. So these are the 4 events that whenever any one of this event occurs, it will send an email to the recipient. So I click on it back, so it will collapse again, and I send an email for every unstable build, send separate email to individual who broke the build. So this is how we can configure for this email recipient. So when I apply and save it, it will be saved successfully. But this step is not complete. Even if I build it now, it will not send an email. Let's take an example. If I click on build now, the process will build. The process has been built successfully. If I click on this process and look for the console output, I can see the output. You can see the finished as a success. The issue which I'm talking about is if I made some changes into it. Let's suppose I configure this, and on build I enter the wrong command. Let's suppose I pass wrong command and hash version and save it. So that's a wrong command, and now if I click on build now, it will throw an error message. So you can see it's indicating that the process has been failed, and if I expand and look at the console output, it says the failure. it says the failure. Now if I get back to my mail ID, so you can see here I haven't received any email in my mailbox, the mail ID which I have configured over there, which I mentioned over there. This is because we only did the half of the part. Now the rest of the part would be completed. We need to set up an email server. We need to configure email server within Jenkins. So I click on Jenkins, click on manage Jenkins. So now we are going to configure the mail server for our Jenkins. So manage Jenkins, and here we select this part, configure system. So I click on configure system, and when we configure system, I scroll down and look for email settings. So I scroll down and there is a section named as email notification. So we need to configure this email notification. So I'll set here in email notification, I enter the SMTP server. So for Gmail, the SMTP server is smtp.gmail.com. So you need to find out what would be the SMTP server for your mail server, because in my case I am using Gmail. So for Gmail, the SMTP server is smtp.gmail.com. If you use Yahoo or Hotmail or any other mail server, so you need to first check your SMTP mail server and the port number. So once I specify the SMTP server, click on advanced. In advanced, I check for use SMTP authentication. This use SMTP authentication will help us to validate by using this mail server. So I check this option, and as soon as I checked it, it asked me to enter username and password. So I specify here my username, my mail server username and password. Then I check use SSL. We need to specify the port number. So for Gmail, the port number is 465. Reply to address, so I'll say no reply @gmail.com and leave it as it is. So I check this button, test configuration by sending email, and I'm going to send an email just for testing. I just mentioned my mail ID here. So as you can see here, I have mentioned my personal mail ID. This is my official one. So this mail ID and this email ID is different. So this will help us to identify whether the mail configuration is working or not. So after I specify this, I click on test configuration. So we need to click on this button, test configuration. So after I click on test configuration button, I got a confirmation message that the email was successfully sent. Now let's go back and check to my mailbox whether I received any email or not. So I get back to my mailbox. So you can see here I got a message, address not configured, or this is test mail. This is just for testing mail. So when I click on this, you can see the message is coming from sumit.goel@bisp-trainings.com, and it is sent to this mail ID. The subject is test mail 4, and the message is this is test email 4 sent from Jenkins. It means the mail server has been configured successfully. So the mail server has been configured successfully here. So now let's get back to the Jenkins, and I click on save. So it's configured successfully. Now let's test whether it's working or not. So I again get back to BISP test job, click on configure, and this time let's check the text. So it's already okay, it's already the. So now let's test it again. So I click on save. That's the existing code, that's the same code. So I simply save it and I'm going to build it now. So I click on build now, and as soon as I click on build now, because the build has got a wrong syntax, so definitely it will throw an error message. So let it finish and then we'll have a look. So you can see I got a message as required. So I click on console output and I see if the message has got a failure. Now let's go and check mailbox. So in my mailbox, when I refresh my mailbox, I got a new message named as build fails in Jenkins and BISP test job hash 17. So you can see the test job is 17. So back to project and you can see the hash 17. Hash 17. And if I expand it, if I open it, you can see the same message which we have received in our bill. And also if the user who will be receiving this email, when he click on the link which appears in this, which is added in this error failure email, so if the user clicked on this link, he will be redirect to that error message. He would be able to see this job failure and he can see the console output. So it will redirect, it will take us to this console output. So that's how we can schedule, and that's how we can send an email by using Jenkins. Same thing, we can schedule it. So for scheduling this, we need to get back to our project. We need to expand our project. In project, we need to click on configure, and then we need to build the environment. Sorry, in build triggers, I click on build periodically, and then we need to configure this. So to know more about scheduling, you can go through my existing video. In that video, I have demonstrated, I have explained how can we schedule a job after a certain interval. So after a certain interval, whenever that job executes, whenever that job runs, and if there is an error in that job, if the build is failed, it will quickly inform to the registered user. So that's all in this video. If you have any queries, you can write to us on www.bisptrainings.com. You can subscribe our YouTube channel. Keep watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.